Tonight, Southern launch keen to make up for lost time after their rocket was rocked by storm damage. And from the highs to the lows, we look back at the year that was, as 7 Spencer Golf Nightly News signs off for another year.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. A quick fix for Southern Launch and AT Space as the storm-damaged rocket returns to Whalers Way, ready to be launched in the coming weeks. This time, they're upping the ante, launching not 1 but 2 rockets by the end of the year.
Rocket science at its finest. After last month's rocket launch was postponed due to severe weather, the team had to move the vehicle back to Adelaide. However, the damage to the Kestrel 1 rocket wasn't as bad as initially thought.
Both AT Space and Southern Launch decided the most prudent thing to do was to take the rocket back to Adelaide and check it out, and literally take it apart and check every single piece of electronics. Once AT Space did that, they realised that the damage was minimal.
The space company is back and they're going one bigger this time around, with the intentions of launching 2 rockets by the end of the year if all goes to plan.
We'll actually have a second rocket ready to go. So if the first rocket works well, then off we go again.
The first rocket will be attached with grid fins and a parachute, making for a safe landing back into the ocean approximately 400 kilometres south of Whalers Way. Lloyd and the team making sure all safety measures are in place.
As always, Southern Launch, we operate very closely with CFS, SAPOL, ambulance services, and also all the other regulators involved in permitting a launch.
Exclusion areas will come into effect on the day of the launch, but there will be viewing areas for those wanting to catch a glimpse.
Hopefully a lot of people join in and, watch the live stream and the likes and get to share some of the excitement, that we'll be going through on the launch day.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
There's nothing better than fresh prawns on Christmas Day. But with a cool start to summer, prawn fishermen say it hasn't been easy to keep up with the supply and demand. Annabelle Francis spoke with the experts.
SD Caputo and Sons have been serving fresh seafood to the people of Port Pirie since 1951. So when it comes to seafood, they know what they're talking about. And now the team is busy preparing for the Christmas rush. But there is one small problem.
Just finding the water temperatures just aren't warm enough yet, so their catches were quite down, bit by bit. The last 3 or 4 years are getting worse and worse.
Prawn fishermen have been throwing nets in the same patches for years now, but there are increasing signs they need to change their approach.
And even, like I said, the prawn fishermen are comparing prawn fishing with farming.
Farmers will seed in one paddock one year and move to another paddock the next year, and prawn fishermen think they need to do the same. However, SD Caputo and Sons still have plenty of prawns for everyone.
Plenty of prawns. Luckily we buy from 3 or 4 suppliers in Adelaide that we can all get our hands on what we want and what we need.
If you're after prawns and crayfish for Christmas Day, it's encouraged to get your order in earlier rather than later. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
2022 has been a year none of us will forget. Huge things have happened here in the Spencer Gulf, from reopening after COVID to natural disasters and everything in between. Join us as we look back on the year that was.
Off the back of a severely COVID-affected 2021, the new year was looked to as a beacon of light at the end of a very long tunnel. Outbreaks continued on throughout the year, but with higher vaccination rates and better hygiene standards, the coronavirus no longer dictated the lives of Australians. That's why we'll look back on 2022 as the year we started getting back to what we loved. The festival state was once again living up to its name. Events were well and truly back, ranging from the Broken Hill Drag Festival to Wales' adrenaline-filled air show.
He's doing 6 Gs.
Port Augusta families flocked to the city's historic bridge opening, while Port Pirie welcomed back their classic Smelters picnic. Whether it's a round of golf in Port Augusta or cosplaying Mad Max characters in Silverton, communities were reuniting. And when it comes to getting out and about, locals prove that age is just a number. Broken Hill's 99-year-old Heather Merritt getting back to her aquafit, while Wales' Patricia Hay took to the skies at 100 years old.
Take me up and then bring me down.
2022 also saw the return of everyone's favourite pastime, politics, politics, politics.
I'm number 9, so let's drop your number 1 in number 9 and that'll do.
With 3 separate elections this year, it's no wonder why the Electoral Commission was concerned about voter fatigue. But we got through it. Locally, we saw a staggering 7 brand new mayors appointed in our broadcast area.
Certainly look forward to getting in and starting as soon as we possibly can.
MPs Rowan Ramsey and Mark Colton held their seats in the federal election, but it was the South Australian state election where things really heated up. The redrawing of electoral lines saw Port Pirie's Jeff Brock take down Dan Van Holst Pelican for the new electorate of Stewart. Eddie Hughes fended off long-term rival Tom Antonio for Giles. Sam Telfer was only just able to hold on to Flinders, while many of his Liberal Party colleagues were booted out in favour for a new Malinowskis government. But the biggest change in leadership was the passing of our head of state, Her Majesty the Queen.
I think of Her Majesty's dignity and her compassion.
Passing away in September, the region looked back on the fonder times, remembering the Sovereign's joy-filled visits to our region. The Spencer Gulf was not without its problems this year. Displaced Indigenous groups were left without shelter in Port Augusta.
How are they going to go back home?
A raft of violent incidents at our schools circulated on social media, and tragically, 65 lives have been lost on regional roads so far this year. But as a community, we are stronger than ever, time after time overcoming problems thrown our way. Towns banded together to clean up illegal dumping sites. Port Augusta implemented an antisocial behaviour task force, and Port Lincoln was able to get through the red tape to welcome back its profitable cruise ship industry.
I think for our cruise ship to arrive, and finally she's here, and it's very exciting.
We were able to rise above, just like our region's homegrown sporting stars on the world stage. Whyala's Lee Hoffman took out gold in cycling at the Birmingham Commonwealth Games. Port Lincoln's Kyle Chalmers once again etched his name into the history books, bringing home 3 gold medals, while Connor Rosie and Hannah Ewings took out Port Adelaide's best and fairest in their respective competitions. Looks like the regions do it best.
These younger girls developing as a person, as a player, and to have that opportunity now for women to show them what they're really made of.
Edwin McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, Port Augusta's Bangalore Food Services receives a welcome grant, and a Broken Hill opera icon honoured with a plaque in her hometown. Welcome back. Well, as we just saw, it's been a whirlwind of a year for the people of the Lower Eyre Peninsula, seeing locals rally together during trying times and celebrate during some major triumphs. The member for Flinders gives his thoughts on the year that's been and shares his hopes for the region in the future.
It was the year of all things new. New member for Flinders, new mayor and a new council. A changing of the guard for the Lower Eyre Peninsula.
It has been a big year with state, federal and then local government elections. The people have spoken and we've seen democracy in action. We've seen a new state government, a new federal government and a new mayor come in here at Port Lincoln.
Still a big topic of conversation is the future of a desalination plant. Water security a desperate issue for the peninsula and one that Mr Telfer hopes to figure out.
It really is now in the state government's court to make the decision that actually reflects the site selection committee and the calls from our community. We need to make sure there's sustainable water source for the Eyre Peninsula moving forward.
The township of Port Lincoln has seen major upgrades being undertaken to the foreshore and local roads, improving infrastructure and the region's health networks still at the forefront.
The road network is under stress and we need to make sure that the work is done to properly reflect the need that we've got going on. We know the health system is under significant stress here in regional South Australia, especially here in Flinders.
The member for Flinders is encouraging the people of the Eyre Peninsula to make contact and make their voices heard heading into the new year.
The doors here at the electorate of Flinders in Port Lincoln and also my office at Ceduna are open for people. And also call up, email. Make sure that you're in contact with your local Member of Parliament because we're the ones that are putting forward the perspectives.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Bangalore Food Services in Port Augusta has been awarded a grant allowing for a major expansion. The Meals on Wheels service has proved vital in preventing malnutrition and giving senior citizens more independence, as well as employment for Indigenous women.
Dinner is served. The ladies at Bangalore Food Services preparing the latest meals for dozens of the region's elder citizens. Now the organisation has been awarded a Silver Chef Community Grant to expand their services.
The grant's worth $5,000 and it's going to allow us to increase our capacity to produce more meals for the Port Augusta region and also for Corn and Wilmington as well.
The grant comes as demand for Bangalore's services have increased dramatically and there's a need to expand.
The extra equipment will alleviate a bit of the capacity issue initially, but in the long term we need a bigger place, and we have recently purchased a new building to expand and create 2 new kitchens and also a training centre as well.
For the Indigenous women like Robin Coulthard, working at Bangalore has granted her new skills in catering and helping her community.
Good, it's good. Feeding all the clients and everyone out there, yeah, it gives you a good feeling. Things, desserts, soups, different ways of chopping, yeah, meeting a lot of people.
The food services on offer also improve the senior citizens' health, reduce the risk of malnutrition and allow them to maintain independent living.
The food we produce is all nutritionally balanced. It's designed by our professional team here at the kitchen, and it allows us to provide good food which improves the long-term quality of life of our elderly people in Port Augusta.
Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Broken Hill has honoured opera singer June Bronhill. Broken Hill Mayor Tom Kennedy and member for Barwon Roy Butler unveiling a plaque at the Civic Centre this morning. Ms Bronhill was born in Broken Hill in 1929 and moved to Sydney when she was just 19 to follow her dreams of singing. She was the second person to be featured on This Is Your Life, and Ms Bronhill passed away in 2005 with her funeral taking place in Broken Hill. Stay with us after the break. Port Augusta's Mural collection continues to grow. And Port Pirie basketballers put in some final practice ahead of this weekend's exhibition match. Welcome back. Port Augusta's Mural Mania continues with the latest one at the racecourse nearing completion. The work already receiving rave reviews from club personnel, as a second one is already being discussed.
A previously drab, grey, unappealing wall has now been transformed into a colourful work of art as you pass the Port Augusta racecourse.
We've decided that if we could get the funding, which we ended up gathering, we would create a mural on the wall here of one of our racing events and hopefully attract more community type people to our events when we do have them.
So this one is, I've been working on it for about a bit over a month, not full time, just doing days here and days there, working around the weather.
A local business got in contact with Dulux, who graciously provided all the paints for the mural free of charge.
Lee Kotz from Port Augusta Inspiration Paints was quite helpful in this area and has come forward. He dealt with Dulux Paints of Australia, and Dulux through Lee donated the paints that you can see that created the mural behind us. So without those two people we wouldn't have been able to have achieved it, no.
Another section of the wall has been allocated for a possible second mural, though that will depend on further funding.
Yeah, so I've heard a few rumours that they might be getting something sorted out. I'm not 100% sure on the details yet, but I think they're working on a bit of a plan.
Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Golf News.
There were blocks, passes and slam dunks at the Port Pirie Stadium last night as the juniors and seniors battled it out ahead of this weekend's exhibition match. Gearing up for Saturday night, the public is invited to come along and watch it for themselves.
Matt Whitaker is heavily involved in the Port Pirie Basketball Association and hopes more people can share the same passion for the sport that he has.
Meeting people, making new friends, watching players develop, that's what I love about it.
This Saturday, residents from Port Pirie and surrounds can witness the best of the best at an exhibition match. Matt says there's extraordinary talent in both the women's and the men's teams, and will be an entertaining match not to miss.
The whole idea of the exhibition game is we've got massive influx in numbers in juniors, so we want to actually show the junior competition where they can actually get to if they try hard enough, train hard enough.
The doors to the Donaldson Basketball Stadium will open around 5:30 p.m, with both the A-grade men and women playing. Players of all ages, families and friends are encouraged to make a night out of it.
Full bar, canteen, and at this stage there's a lot of talented players out there playing.
If you're interested in playing basketball, there will be plenty of people to speak to on the night. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
And we have a sneak peek into Port Broughton's Santa Cave. The cave will officially open this Saturday at 7 p.m, with free family photos with Santa available. And on Tuesday, December 20, Council will be holding a sensory hour from 2 to 3 p.m, which will offer those who require a sensory-friendly experience a quiet viewing by reducing the large crowds. Santa's Cave is located at the Port Broughton Town Hall. Stay with us after the break. A few byes in the local cricket league this weekend. And it will be a scorcher tomorrow. We'll have the weekend weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. Not all of the local cricket leagues are going ahead this weekend, but some are marching ahead. Here's this week's Cricket Tips.
Last week's winners, West and South, meet at the Alma Oval this weekend. South coming off their first win in 1,029 days. We'll be really looking forward to this contest, but unfortunately I think West batting depth will probably hold sway in this game, and they should prove a little bit too strong for the Southerners. In the other game at the Jubilee Oval, North take on Central. Central disappointing against South last week, only made 69 runs. Their batting is really struggling at the moment. Jared Paul possibly returns to the side this week, which will bolster their batting, but I think North batting depth will again see them over the top, and the Northerners should return to the winning list.
Good luck to all the competitors, and thank you to our cricket experts for their contribution to our bulletin this year. It's time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, how's the weekend looking?
Well, Maddie, extreme temperatures in the 40s around Cooper Pedy tomorrow, and it's not much better near the coastline either. More on that in just a moment. At midday, it was 36 degrees in Port Pirie, 29 in Woodner, and Kadina top 25 degrees. Looking more broadly at today's weather map now, 30 degrees in Cooper Pedy at lunchtime, 27 in Port Augusta, 25 in Whyalla. Taking a look at the satellite image now, another cooler, fresh southerly airstream is expected to develop early next week, following the trough and low as a strong high-pressure system develops south of Western Australia. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Northeasterly winds 10 to 20 knots in the morning, seas between 1 and 2 metres, and south to southwesterly swell below a metre. Sunny in Port Lincoln tomorrow, set to reach a high of 33, 37 in Cleve. Woodner mostly sunny, 38 on Saturday. 38 degrees in Whyalla as well, slightly warmer in Port Augusta, heading for a top of 39, between 16 and 35 in Kadina. Port Pirie will be around 37 degrees tomorrow, 32 in Clare, 32 in Broken Hill as well, mostly sunny conditions. Taking a look further through the week now, starting with Sunday, possible showers across most of the Spencer Gulf region, 35 degrees in Broken Hill, possible showers and 24 in Port Pirie and Whyalla, 27 in Port Augusta, partly cloudy and 23 in Woodna. Moving on to Monday's outlook now, starting with the coolest and southernmost area of the map. 19 degrees in Port Lincoln and Adelaide, 21 in Kadina and Port Pirie, 22 in Woodna and Whyalla, 23 in Port Augusta and Broken Hill. And finally, taking a quick look at Tuesday's forecast, sunny top of 29 in Cooper Pedy, blue skies in Broken Hill as well, around 25 degrees, 25 in Port Augusta too, partly cloudy top of 23 degrees in Whyalla and Port Pirie. And that's all the weather from me for tonight and indeed the year. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you, Maddie. I'll see you a little later with an update. It's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Friday and for the year. From all of us here, thank you so much for joining us every weeknight. We love telling the stories of the Spencer Gulf. We'll be back on your screens on Monday, January 16, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Until then, have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2023. I'm Madeline Kerr. Good night.